Let me ask you a question. Have you ever looked at someone incredibly intelligent and wondered, how could they possibly make that decision? Or perhaps you've even asked an even more uncomfortable question. Why do I keep getting in my own way? You know what to do. You've read the books. You have attended the seminars. You've listened to podcasts. You give brilliant advice to everyone else. Yet, somehow, you hesitate. You procrastinate. You overthink. You delay opportunities. You stay in unhealthy situations longer than you should. You keep repeating patterns you promised yourself you'd never repeat again. Why? Here is a surprising answer. It's not because you are not smart enough. In many cases, it's because intelligence cannot compensate for internal incoherence. In fact, the smarter you are, the easier it can become to justify behaviors that quietly sabotage your own progress. Today, I'm going to show you why smart people keep self-sabotaging, why this has very little to do with laziness or discipline, and how restoring internal coherence breaks the cycle. Because once you understand what is really happening beneath the surface, you stop fighting yourself and start understanding yourself. So let's begin. When people hear the phrase self-sabotage, they often imagine someone who lacks motivation, someone careless, someone irresponsible, someone unwilling to change. And that's rarely the person I meet. The people I work with are often exceptionally capable. They are leaders, professionals, entrepreneurs, executives, ministry leaders, parents. They are thoughtful, responsible, driven. So why do they keep getting in their own way? Because self-sabotage isn't usually an intelligence problem. It is an internal conflict problem. Think about Bruce Banner. He wasn't fighting a lack of intelligence. He was fighting competing internal forces. One part of him wanted control. Another part reacted from something much deeper. Many high-capacity individuals experience a quieter version of that same battle. One part wants growth. Another part wants safety. One part wants purpose. Another part fears failure. One part wants change. Another fears uncertainty. And until these internal conflicts are solved, self-sabotage continues. Here is something I have discovered. Highly intelligent people often become very good at explaining why they don't move forward. They don't simply procrastinate. They rationalize. They analyze. They overthink. They create sophisticated reasons for staying exactly where they are. Imagine Sherlock Holmes investigating his own life. He could generate endless explanations, but explanations do not create transformation. Sometimes they simply delay action. Intelligence is a remarkable gift, but without internal coherence, intelligence can become a tool for defending old patterns instead of changing them. You convince yourself, this isn't the right time. I need more information. I'll start next month. I will just need to think about it a little longer. That sounds familiar? The issue isn't thinking capacity. No. The issue is that your thinking has become disconnected from your deeper values and priorities. When intelligence serves fear instead of truth, self-sabotage becomes surprisingly logical. Let's uncover what is really happening. Root 1. Conflicting identity. You say you want success, but deep down, you still see yourself as someone who doesn't deserve it. Your behavior eventually follows your identity, not your goals. Root 2, unprocessed emotional experiences. Past disappointments, failures, rejection, criticism. These experiences quietly shape present decisions. Not because you are weak, because unresolved emotions continue influencing current behavior. Root 3, misaligned priorities. Many people chase goals they no longer truly value. They are pursuing expectations, not convictions. That creates internal resistance. Root 4, fear disguised as perfectionism. Perfectionism often looks like excellence, but underneath it is frequently fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of being exposed. So instead of risking imperfection, you delay action altogether. That is not wisdom. That is self-protection disguised as preparation. That is exactly why I developed the internal coherence recalibration model. Because I realized people usually don't sabotage themselves intentionally. They sabotage themselves systematically. Think about a GPS with incorrect coordinates. The car functions perfectly. The engine works. The driver follows every direction. Yet, the destination is wrong because the internal guidance system is inaccurate. The same thing happens internally. Your behavior faithfully follows your internal programming. That's why lasting transformation begins beneath behavior. Within the internal coherence recalibration model, we examine 5 critical dimensions: values, identity, priorities, emotions, and behaviors. The goal isn't simply changing actions. It is bringing every part of your internal world into agreement. Because agreement creates alignment, and alignment reduces self-sabotage. People often expect dramatic external transformation. Instead, something quieter, far more powerful, happens fast. Decision making becomes simpler, not because life becomes easier, because internal negotiation decreases. Confidence becomes steadier, not because you are suddenly fearless, because your identity becomes stronger than your fears. Consistency improves, not because you discovered magical discipline, because your actions finally align with what you genuinely believe. Think about Captain America. People admired his courage, but beneath that courage was congruence. His values, his identity, his decisions, his actions, they moved together. That is internal coherence. And that's why he acted consistently under pressure. When your internal world becomes coherent, your external behavior becomes far more predictable. Not through force, but through alignment. Let me leave you with this. Perhaps you have spent years believing you are your own worst enemy. I don't believe that is true. I believe you have been operating from an internal system that no longer serves the person you are becoming. There is a difference because if you are the problem, there is very little hope. But if the system is the problem, the system can be recalibrated. That's the good news. You don't have to become someone completely different. You don't need a new personality. You don't need endless motivation. You don't even need more intelligence. You need greater internal coherence. When your values, your identity, your emotions, your priorities, and your actions begin working together, Self-sabotage loses power because you are no longer divided against yourself. Remember this, smart people don't stay stuck because they lack intelligence. They stay stuck because intelligence alone cannot overcome internal conflict. But once internal coherence is restored, the energy that was once spent resisting yourself becomes available for building your future. And that's one of the most liberating transformations you will ever experience. Because the goal isn't simply becoming smarter. No, it is becoming more integrated. And integrated people don't constantly fight themselves. They move forward with clarity, stability, and purpose. If today's message resonated with you, comment here below with the word coherence. And tell me, which of the 4 roots of self-sabotage do you recognize most in your own life? Is it conflicting identity, unprocessed emotions, misaligned priorities, or fear disguised as perfectionism? If you are ready to stop repeating old patterns and start building emotional stability and decision clarity through the internal coherence calibration model, subscribe to the channel, because your greatest breakthrough won't come from becoming more intelligent. It will come from becoming more internally aligned.